This video is sponsored by Milanote. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Handyman Graham, and today we're making a standalone coffee bar. Whew. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe button. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers, which is crazy. So the more buttons you press, the more visibility we get on YouTube, and we can get to that 100,000 subscribers. So for this project that we're doing today, Alexandra has tasked me with making a standalone coffee bar for Mel. Mel already had a shelving unit of sorts where her coffee machine was to begin with, but we're gonna make something that's like very unique, very purposeful. Alexandra had this idea to make a coffee bar using an IKEA cabinet. So we're gonna like really run with it and kind of show you guys how you can replicate this at home on a budget. First things first, I gotta put some ideas on paper and try to just like draw it out, just get a feel for what we're gonna be working with here. We're gonna paint the IKEA cabinet unit. We're going to create like an arched backboard. We're gonna be using the same peel and stick tile that we're probably gonna be using in the rest of the kitchen, as well as some custom built shelves that will allow Alexandra to go crazy with. If you watch Alexandra's videos, then you definitely recognize Milanote. At Team AG, we use Milanote on a daily basis for all of our projects and makeovers. And I consider it to be one of the best tools I have in my toolbox. For those that don't know, Milanote is an amazing tool for organizing creative projects. It's an online canvas to help you plan, brainstorm, and collaborate on ideas. When we're not shooting a makeover, I'm in the workshop and the design team is in the office, so Milanote just allows us to collaborate efficiently and effortlessly, so I don't have to bug the design team like 1,000 times a day about all the small details. For each DIY project, I make a board on Milanote. So for Mel's coffee bar, I have the drawing I just made, I have paint swatches, product links, shopping lists, DIY to-do checklists, IKEA products, mood boards. I just have everything I need all in one place in order to tackle each project. I can also flip back and forth effortlessly between the makeover mood board and my project board in order to consult different products, textures, colors, shapes, just to help me design the DIY. The team can also leave comments and feedback in real time so that we're all on the same page. Milanote's the perfect fit if you're a creative professional or a DIYer like me, or even if you're working on a home renovation project with your partner and you just need everything organized all in one place. Milanote makes starting a new project easy with over 100 built-in templates, so you can just choose a template and get your project going. I use the web clipper tool to add images to my DIY board directly, so I don't have to copy, paste, or screenshot. I use Milanote on my computer and my phone because the desktop version syncs to mobile so I can access boards as I go. So that's why you'll often see me referencing my phone in videos, because I'm looking at Milanote. I highly recommend using Milanote. It's available for free with no time limit. So sign up for a free Milanote account using the link in the description. Okay, now back to the DIY. All right, so now it's time to gather all the materials. We're gonna go to Home Depot, which is like one of my favorite places in the world. I'm so excited to go to Home Depot. I'm like, it's like my happy place. I haven't been to Home Depot. I mean, I was at Home Depot last week, but it didn't really count because it was a speed run. I didn't really get to enjoy myself. This is the music that's playing in my head when I shop at Home Depot. It's just...
Hire and visit nofrills.ca price match for details.
Dentists say, prolonged use, you just might get that overbite.
What are they talking about?
Stay away. And they range anywhere. I mean, you can get a cheap one for $2, but
what are they
some
talking
of these
about?
are up to $70.
$70 for
I
what?
want to do a quick survey on our text line. Did you
What are you
call
talking about?
the pacifier?
The pacifier?
What do you still call it?
This is the music that pops up in my head when I find the perfect Home Depot find. Just a single tear rolls down my face. It's beautiful. It's perfect. So I have the brass rail, brass cup hooks, anchors. Now comes the problem where I'm looking for things that aren't on my list. It's very problematic when you're shopping for things you don't even know you need. shellac primer. For all those wondering what shellac primer looks like, $119 a can. Always the most expensive part of a DIY project. But here's a good tip. You don't have to buy like the big can of shellac primer, $119. You're just doing like a one small project. They got little cans. And then I've also seen it in spray cans too. Look at this beast. So you can buy it, shellac-based bin primer in a spray can. It's 40 bucks. Oof. They have the Halloween stuff. That's when you know summer's over. Gonna check the clearance section. Oh, here you go. If you guys watch my Q&A video, impact driver and drill combo, this is like 260 bucks. So cheap with 2 batteries. That is a great deal. And a charger. That's crazy. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Ooh, table saw. Another table saw. Wow, so much stuff. Wow, again. Look, the combo kit. Guys, $250. That's incredible. Such a good deal. Okay. Anyways, let me go get that sheet of MDF. It's gonna be a 2-hander. So we got a 3/4 inch sheet of MDF, the 2 packs of anchors that we use for like hanging pictures. We got a can of shellac primer, got the contractor garbage bags. I found this saw in the garbage. I found this shovel on the sidewalk. You never know when you might need a shovel. Okay. Ah, jeez, that's hot. I want to say that was quick and easy, but it was not quick, but it was easy. I did spend quite a bit of time there. I think it's been an hour since I left the workshop, but I literally have everything I need except the IKEA cabinet, which is fine because all I'll need to do to that IKEA cabinet is paint it blue. So literally it can be the last thing I do. I mean, I have all the dimensions for the IKEA cabinet, so I can build the backing board with the dimensions and specifications I already have from the IKEA website, which is great. So yeah, once I get back, I do have a couple of those meetings and then I'm going camping tonight. So I'm gonna leave a bit early today. Don't tell the boss. I guess when she sees this, it'll probably be a couple weeks after the camping trip. So it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Sorry, Alexandra. Oh, actually, I want to show you something. This is my portable air conditioner. I found this styrofoam container on the sidewalk. It had a bit of a crack in it. I'm gonna fill this cooler with ice, and then I have some PVC pipe that I glued with hot glue into the top. And then I have my little Ryobi work fan that I've cut the perfect size hole for it. So it kind of just squeezes in there. Put a battery on the top, and it will push air into the cooler. It will run over the ice and out the tubes. And so I'm gonna put this in my tent, and I'm gonna have this pointed at my feet in the tent, and it's gonna be amazing. I'll let you know how it goes. Morning, guys. It's Monday morning, and it's time to start this DIY. So we got all of our material from Home Depot on Friday. I'm gonna split this DIY project up into the 2 parts. So we're gonna have the IKEA base and the backboard for the shelves and all that sort of stuff, which I'm gonna get started on first because it's gonna take the longest amount of time to do. This is gonna be like 95% of the work for this DIY, so I'm gonna get started on it, and the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of cut it down to size. So I don't have the IKEA unit on hand right now, but I do have the measurements for it. So I'm just gonna look at these measurements and cut the width of the backing board to size. Okay, there's many different ways that you can cut a semicircle onto a piece of material. I just have this scrap piece of wood here, and I'm gonna use this as my jig for drawing the semicircle onto this backboard. So first, I'm gonna find the radius of the semicircle. The entire width here is 47.25, so that's the entire width of the IKEA unit. So I'm gonna divide that by 2, 23 inches, 0.625, and as you know, inches into decimal places are very tricky to figure out. So here's another trick for you guys, is if you're ever like splitting a measurement in half, you grab your tape measure, and you fold it in half. And we have 47.25. So I'm gonna line this up to 47.25. And then at the very tip, it'll give us our measurement. So I said 23.625. So if you don't know what fraction 0.625 is, you fold your tape measure, you put it at the quarter mark, and you look here, 23.625, 23 5/8. As you can look, and at 5/8 is right in the center. So that's our radius, 23 5/8. So now, with this scrap piece of wood, I'm gonna drill a hole here, right in the center, and I'm gonna drill a hole somewhere over here, and this is gonna be our pivot point, and I'm gonna just stick my pencil in the other hole, and I'm gonna draw that perfect semicircle, and it should be from edge to edge since we have a perfect 47.25 diameter. I'm also just gonna make sure that both holes are in the center of this piece of wood. So I'm gonna put my holes on the same line. I'll start with the nail hole. And then from that nail, I'm gonna measure with the tape measure by hooking it onto the nail. And I want 23 5/8. Got my drill. I'm using a drill bit with a brad point just to get more precision here. I'm drilling on the line. So now my pencil can fit in that hole. Now we have to measure on the board itself. This is a drywall T-square. I highly recommend picking one of these up if you're ever gonna work on some larger projects where you need like some perfectly square lines. So I'm going to go like this. We have 23 5/8, boom. And then I'm gonna do it this way. It's gonna be perfectly in the center. If you're unsure if it's in the center, put your tape measure on the other side, 23 5/8 on the dot. So now I can do this line. There. So that is exactly where we need to put a nail. I'm gonna help it just by putting a little brad there. So now, just gonna line up this nail. The more snug this hole is for the nail, the more precise it's gonna be. So you don't really want this hole to be too large because we need this semicircle to be perfect. That's why we're going through so many steps. So I'm gonna line up this nail to the hole. I'm just gonna smack it just to secure it. Taking my sharp pencil, putting it in that hole. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, that was really easy. Perfect semicircle every single time. You know what the best part is? I can save this for future projects. So I'll keep the nail. We already have this line set up. So I'll just put here 23 5/8 with an arrow. And then I can put one for 24, 20, 19.5, whatever. And I can use this for so many different semicircles in the future. So great little beginner jig if you're just getting into making jigs for projects and stuff. I'm gonna put this aside and save it for a future project. As you guys probably know if you have a jigsaw, jigsaws are like very tricky to use. They'll drift a lot. The angle of the blade will kind of tilt. In order to kind of like counter the jankiness of a jigsaw, I'm gonna cut on the outside of this line that we traced. See, I'm cutting on this side of the line, and I'm gonna sand down to the pencil mark. The jigsaw doesn't create like a perfect cut. It's kind of like choppy. So I'm just using my belt sander and just keeping it at like a 90-degree angle as best I can in order to just smooth out those cuts that the jigsaw made. So I'm gonna make a border that's gonna go around the perimeter of the backing board, and it's gonna go right up to the point where it's gonna kiss the counter. But what I'm thinking is maybe using my router with like some sort of tracing bit and cutting this out, and then I can trace this thickness and then glue down probably with some glue, some brad nails. But this is a great start. I think this is I'm gonna have more than enough material here to do this. So I'm gluing some scrap pieces of MDF onto the arch. I just had these pieces laying around the workshop. I'm just gonna glue these scrap pieces of MDF temporarily with some CA glue. And then just trace that arch shape onto the scrap pieces as well. And then I'm just using my jigsaw again to cut out the arch shapes. So I did a rough cut with the jigsaw. I didn't go all the way to the line just like before. I left a good amount of material on this side of the line because I'm going to go in with my router and one of these bits. So this, I don't know what this is called, I'm sorry. I should probably look up what this is called. Flush trim shank. Flush trim shank bit. Pretty much this has a bearing on the very tip, and that's gonna hit the reference piece, which is the arch that we've already sanded down, and then it's gonna trim the top piece to the exact same thickness as the bearing. So it will give us a carbon copy cut of the bottom reference arch that we've sanded onto the top trim pieces we've temporarily glued on top here. Okay, nice. I got like a really nice smooth edge here. So I'm just gonna label these and pop these off, cut them with the jigsaw. In order to sand the inside curve, I'm using my benchtop spindle sander just to get in there and just smooth everything out to the pencil line. That was actually so easy. They are looking so bang on a match. This is great. Boom, see? So I'm gonna glue these now to the arch. And then I'm gonna sand them all into place so that the different pieces will match up. So now I'm going to route the edge with this really big round over router bit. And this is just gonna create like a really nice profile on the outside and inside of the frame. Okay, so I'm just gonna trim the edges of the frame now so that it's gonna sit right on the top of the countertop for the IKEA unit. So now it's time to move on to the shelves. Just trying to see what wood I have up there, and I found this floating shelf that I made maybe 2 years ago. This is Douglas fir. This is probably gonna be the vibe. I'm really lucky that this wood is also so thick because it's gonna look really, really luxe. So I'm cutting the shelves in half with my table saw and then cutting it to 40¼ inches using my miter saw. In order to get rounded edges, I'm just tracing a roll of electrical tape with a pencil, and I'm just gonna cut that out with my jigsaw and then sand it down using my benchtop belt sander. And I'm just cleaning up the edges and the faces of the shelves using 80 grit and 120 grit sandpaper. Okay, we've got these shelves sanded down. We got them shaped with this really nice little profile here. See, a little chamfer underneath, a little bit of a rounded edge on top. So I just want to show you guys the secret feature that I was going to include on the shelf that I have been keeping a secret because I didn't know if it was gonna work until I saw it in person, but then the delivery guy just brought it and I opened up the box. It looks really awesome and I think it's gonna be perfect for this. And that is under counter lighting. I just want like a soft white, like a warm white light that's gonna be underneath the shelf so that it illuminates the coffee bar when Melanie goes to make a coffee in the morning or at night when she wants to make like a cocktail or something, because I was thinking she could do both. They're magnetic, so it has this like little plate that just snaps on the back there in 2 places. So I could route a little channel in the bottom of the shelf and have it concealed within. Okay, I finished routing the grooves for the lights. See? Boom, boom. And then I added like a little groove that's a little bit deeper. While there are magnets that these attach to that I will secure on the inside here, she'll be able to just press with her fingers, pop it up so she can grab it and pull it out. The next thing I need to work on are the cup rails. So remember, I got these brass rods from Home Depot. I'm gonna make like little dowel pieces out of the same wood that the shelves are made out of, so that color matches. So I'm carving the wood dowels that I'm gonna be using as like the cup rail posts using my lathe. And I'm dividing this wood dowel up into 6 pieces because I'm gonna have 3 pieces per shelf and I can carve them all from the same dowel all at once. So now that it's carved, I'm sanding everything down to 120 grit sandpaper to the same grit as the shelves. And as I'm finishing up on these dowels, I'm gonna have Nolan prime and paint the arch backboard. Just to save some time here, we're gonna kind of double team this project because we are on a limited time schedule. I'm gonna have Nolan paint the arch in Blueberry Hill by Benjamin Moore. It's in their advanced line of paint in a semi-gloss finish. It's perfect for cabinetry. So we're gonna be using this exact same blue for the IKEA cabinet later on. For the cup rail posts, I'm just drilling some small holes with my drill press, and it's gonna be the same diameter as the brass cup rail so that the brass cup rail can kind of fit into these posts. So I'm tracing a line an inch away from the edge all the way down the shelves so that I can place these cup rail posts equal distance. I'm just gonna split the shelf into 3 parts equally so that I have 3 posts equally spaced apart, and I'm just drilling like a small little 3/8 inch hole so that the posts have a little hole to fit into. Next, I'm cutting the brass dowel down to equal size using my metal cutoff saw. Okay, so the dowels are cut. Big ones, small ones. Brackets are all finished. It's a corner bracket there. Got a middle bracket here. So I'm attaching the cup rail posts to the shelves with some wood glue and some clamps, and I'm installing the brass cup rail at the same time as well because once these posts are in place and the glue's dry, it's gonna be really hard to remove those brass cup rails. So now that the wood glue's dry, I'm taping off the brass cup rails and spraying the shelves and the cup rail posts with some satin lacquer just to seal everything up. Okay, so I'm moving on to tiling the back of the backboard, and I've got these smart tiles here. They look very nice. Nice and pink. For the peel and stick backsplash, I'm just putting a pencil line all the way down the middle of the backboard, and this will just give me like a nice reference line to keep an eye on as I'm putting the peel and stick tile down. I think like if you don't have this reference line to work with, each individual peel and stick tile might be like a little bit off. These are the same smart tiles that I have in my bathroom. They're holding up so well. If I spill something on them, they wipe clean nice and easy, and like none of them are peeling off, which is great. So to cut the smart tiles around the perimeter, I'm just kind of pushing up the smart tiles with my putty knife and cutting them with my utility knife. However, it's really hard to get like a perfect cut here, just because like these smart tiles, they are quite thick. It's not just like a peel and stick like wallpaper. Like this actually has like quite a bit of texture to it. It is quite hard to push into those nooks and crannies. I'm not too concerned with the perfection of this cut because I'm gonna go in with some painter's caulk in just a second and just tidy it all up. So now that the shelves are drying and the painter's caulk is drying, it's time to tackle the IKEA unit. So I get like a lot of questions online about how can I paint the IKEA Billy bookcase, the Cadillacs, the Pax wardrobe. I have a method for you. Now this isn't like an official method, this is just a method that I've come across through trial and error, painting a ton of IKEA stuff. I'm not saying this is the best method, I'm just saying this is a tried and true method that I've used and I've had some really great results with. Painting a solid wood IKEA piece is quite straightforward and easy, but what's really difficult is painting this like veneered or laminated particle board. So this is what like I see a lot of IKEA stuff made out of. It's almost like a plastic coating, it's very smooth. If I were to just paint on this surface, the paint can like scratch off very easily. What I'm just gonna do is just rough it up. Like I just want to like create some like swirl marks with some sandpaper. I'm not gonna take off any edges. Like I don't wanna see any wood come through the surface here. You wanna scuff it up so that the paint and primer has something to stick to. I'm gonna be using an orbital sander with some 80 grit sandpaper, but I'm gonna have it on like the slowest setting possible. And then for the smaller edges and corners, I've got some 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm just gonna go in with my hands and just scuff it up. The goal here is not to sand it down to the wood, but we're just gonna add some scuff marks onto it. So just gentle passes. Don't spend a lot of time doing this. You're gonna wanna wear a respirator for this. It does get very dusty. So whenever you're sanding anything really, even wood, you always wanna wear a mask. We're gonna be putting some decorative knobs on here later rather than pulls. So I'm gonna have to fill these holes on the drawer front and on the two doors. And I'll show you how to do it. So I have some generic wood dowel from the hardware store. This is a 3/8 inch by 48. I think it was a couple bucks. But I put it in my drill chuck. I tighten it and I'll just put it in the sandpaper and I will just kind of go to town. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sand it down to a uniform size so I can hammer it into the holes. You want it to be snug, not loose, so that the wood dowel itself kind of holds itself in place. I'm gonna put a little bit of wood glue in the hole, a little bit of wood glue on the dowel. Don't go crazy with the wood glue because it's gonna be pinched in place anyways. Just really set it in place. Okay, then with a damp rag, I'm just gonna remove the extra wood glue. I have a dry one here, and then you just wanna cut it off. There's different ways you can cut it off. I have a flush cut trim saw. I got this as a Christmas present. I think it was about 30 bucks. So I'm just gonna trim the dowel on the back side. Okay, and then on the front side. Nice. And then I'm gonna do the other hole. And I'm always hitting it in from the side that's gonna be facing out. We don't really care about how the back side looks all that much in comparison to the front side. We want it to be a lot more snug on the front than on the back. And there you have it. Both holes are filled. And lastly, I'm gonna put some wood filler. In the event that there is like a gap or a crack or whatever, this wood filler is just gonna fill in any sort of nook and cranny that is there. I might as well do the backside. And then after that wood filler dries, then I can sand it down with the orbital sander and it will look so seamless. Okay, it's time to prime the IKEA panels now. So with IKEA furniture, we always use bin shellac primer. Unfortunately, it is the most expensive primer on the shelf. You might think primer's primer, but it really isn't in this case. It's just super durable. It's fast working time. You can apply multiple coats within an hour. You just wanna be careful when you're rolling this onto your IKEA furniture. It doesn't act like normal paint. It's very thin and it's gonna wanna spray everywhere. So just, work quickly, work carefully, but also like really kind of take your time. Be quick, but not too quick. Okay, so painting doors is kind of tricky because I want to paint all 6 sides. And a really good hack I find is quite useful is using a coat hanger. And what I'll do is I will paint out 5 of the 6 sides, and then I'll put it on a coat hanger. I'll lift it up, and that will allow me to roughly paint the back side, and then I can hang it out of the way until it dries. So I just put some cup hooks on the side that is facing the floor so it will never be seen. I can prime the more important faces that are gonna be facing outwards, and then I can pick it up and I can hit it like that. This way, you can paint all 6 sides at the same time. I mean, it's a little challenging. You might wanna hang it up somewhere first. My arm's getting tired. There we go. And I'm just gonna hang this out of the way until it dries. So now that the primer is dry, we're going with the same Blueberry Hill paint by Benjamin Moore that we used for the arch. This advanced line of paint by Benjamin Moore is a paint that I highly recommend for painting IKEA products, just because it's really easy to work with, it's water-based, it's quick drying time, it just has a really great finish. All right, so while these IKEA pieces are drying, I'm gonna put an outlet onto the countertop so that Melanie has an outlet that she can plug her coffee machine into, or kettle into, charge a phone, maybe put a lamp or something. I'm just tracing the plug onto the countertop with my pencil. I'm using a drill to drill a little hole and my jigsaw just to cut out the rest of the rectangle. I love to add these little plugs and like USB ports to different projects because we can really like organize the wires, make it look nice and clean. And also has 2 little USB ports in it too, so she can pop out those overhead lights and charge those on the countertop as well. So I'm just installing the shelves to the backboard using some wood screws, and I'm just making sure that everything is squared up. I'm also drilling a hole into the backboard so that the cup rails on the side of the shelves have a little hole to slide into, and I'm just tapping them into place with a hammer. Okay, so now that the coffee station's complete, it's time for installation. So the first thing I have to do is just cut a notch on the back of the backing board for the outlet. And so that's so we can plug in this countertop outlet into the back without the back of the cupboard interfering with it. 2 1/8, 13 1/2. 22 1/8, I said 13 1/2. Okay, so now Nolan and I are gonna place this on top of the counter, and then I'm just gonna pull this through. Okay, watch your fingers. Okay, so then it's just gonna rest like that. So I just got a countersink bit so that this screw head can sit flush. There. So I'll probably just add like 4, 4, and 4. And no one's gonna see, so I don't really need to measure. And make sure they're evenly spaced. Nice. So it's sitting right against the baseboard, which is great. We wanted something where she could be able to move it around if she wanted to, so we didn't secure it to the wall, and it just kind of gives it more of like a hutch feeling, you know? It's kind of freestanding in the kitchen. So now I've taught you some tips on how to fill the knob holes and make them hidden, and now I'm just gonna give you some tips on how to drill new holes and have them perfect every single time. My tip is to buy something that does it for you. You know, if you're only gonna do it once, there's really no point in like buying this whole drawer handle jig, but I am gonna use this. But if you don't have a jig or you don't wanna spend money on it, I'll take a piece of wood, I'll line it up in the corner, I'll measure where I want the handle to go. Let's say it goes right there. I'll drill a hole here and I'll just square it up to the edge of the door, and then I'll write on it. So this will be right hand door handle on left. Okay, and then I'll drill a hole right here. Okay, so we have our hole, and then to do the left hand door is flip that over. You already have the hole here, so this will be your left hand, and then I'll usually have an arrow. Just label everything. You never want to be guessing with this kind of stuff. I've guessed in the past and I've made like bad errors. So you just kind of make it idiot proof. And then you can use this for every single door. So let's say your cabinets are on the top now. Well, then you just flip it over. And so you have your corner here, your edge. So this is just like a really easy little jig that you can make at home. You just clamp it in place and you can drill your doors that way. But I'm gonna be using this because I have it. I don't know.
Perfect.
Depending on your kitchen, you might have to do that like 25 more times, but you have the method down, double check everything. And I mean double check like everything. Like don't just say, oh, I got this. Even I mess it up often. Even though I have this set up, I'm just gonna make a little mark. Okay, it's right exactly where we want it to be. I'm gonna clamp this onto the side of the door. So these beautiful knobs are the same knobs that Alexandra used on the rest of the kitchen cabinets. These are from Plank Hardware, and yeah, they just look fantastic. So it's the same process for a drawer. We have 4 edges. This had just 2 that we really had to measure. So my tip for you guys, if you're doing a drawer, like a big drawer front, and you know, you wanna make sure that everything is in the center, and you're doubting your measurements, just flip over your tape measure, measure it from the other side, double, triple check.
Wow.
Cool. So now it's part of the video where I talk about what I learned and what I could have done differently. Honestly, overall, I think this project went really smoothly, pretty straightforward. All the materials that we used are like super easily available. I probably should have planned how to secure the brass rail to the backboard before securing the shelves to the backboard. I kind of like finished everything, and then when it was time to install those little brass cup rail pieces, I was just like, screw it. And I just like drilled a hole and just shoved it into the hole. Another thing is I really did want to hardwire the lights into the underside of the shelves. Hardwired lights are probably better if you have a shelf that has like a bit of like an edge band on the front to kind of conceal the underside of the shelf. So with the battery powered lights, I was able to make like a much cleaner little cavity for them to sit in. And I think they run like 36 hours straight or something crazy. So like the USB outlet is right there so she can charge them whenever she needs to. So that's it for the video. Let me know what you think about the coffee bar in the comments down below. And thanks so much for joining me on this DIY. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.